Good morning, folks. We're going to go ahead and get started. People will still be joining us, which is great. So if we can, if those of you who are panelists, if you could please mute your mics while we are, while the other speakers are speaking, that would be fantastic. All of our participants, your mics are already muted. Good morning, everybody. I'm Sonia Pizzi, for those of you who don't know me. I am the Region 3 Coordinator for the Education for Children and Youth Experiencing Homelessness. Heck yeah. I would like to welcome you to a great session today. We're going to have a few people on here to talk with you about mental health. This event, this entire week, could not have happened without a number of community resources to come together to help raise awareness for our homeless youth. Our youth who are experiencing homelessness need a voice. That's what we are all trying to give. So please share the sessions that are remaining for the rest of this week, and also go onto the Facebook pages for both the coalition and for ECYA. And we want to make sure that we are representing these students and helping them be seen. So again, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Our first speaker is going to speak with you. And again, this session is about mental health and the impacts and trauma that may come around. So Cindy, take it away.
Good morning, everybody. I'm waiting for my presentation to come up. I just want to talk to you a little bit about what we see in the suicide prevention world with our homeless and with children that may not be homeless, but they're uprooted from their homes due to parents separating. And we seem to, a lot of our suicides that we've been having lately have been parents. And with a recent separation or divorce. And that can really cause kids to feel like they're homeless, to feel like they don't have a place to go to, especially if they have moved out of their homes. So I want to go over a little bit about what we do and kind of let you know what is available to anyone in York County through our services. You can move to the next slide. It's coming up. Can we move to, there we go. So we are Suicide Prevention of York. We were founded in 2007, but wait a minute, you're going too fast. Back up, there you go. And we were founded in 2007 as a coalition, but in 2017, we became a nonprofit, but we still have our same mission and vision that we've always had. And to look at our adolescent and transitional age, we want to help them recognize the at-risk behaviors. We want to be able to talk to them. We want to be able to get them in a group and let them be seen and let them be heard. So we have provided a VEDM in many of our school districts. We just got a grant to start Hope Squad, and it looks like we may be starting it in one of our school districts soon. I know this is a really, really tough time right now with school districts, so a lot of things have been having to be put on hold, but we are really focusing on wanting our children to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. We had a young lady attend with her family last night in our a support group in Shrewsbury. We have 2 support groups a month, and she was 15. And she's been having a lot of depression issues, and she's also been having, but she just recently lost her father. But what an amazing girl, what an amazing person, and what she is bringing to the table for suicide prevention already just within her because of what she is going through right now. And it's also helping her to understand her feelings and just be a voice right now. So I was amazed by what she was able to bring to the table last night at the age of 15. So you can move to the next one. But we do provide counseling services, and we do provide an arena for the voice of our youth. You can go to the next slide. This is just an overview of what York County suicides look like. Unfortunately, when I wrote this, we have had 2 more since I sent this out. So our total for under 50 is 22. We have hit 50, but back up. But being that we have been experiencing COVID, being that there are so many people that are homeless and there are so many things going on and people losing their jobs right and left in York County, our numbers are down, whereas the attempts are way up, and drug overdoses are ridiculously high. So I feel good. 1 is too many, but I feel good that we are having such a low this year. But when you look at our under 25 population, we are probably going to have a record this year of our under 25 age range. And so we're talking, anywhere. We look at mostly our high school age and college age at this time, but we've had them as young as 12 in York County. So what I've really been looking at this year is our under 25 population. Why is it that they are staying alive this year? And I think a lot of it's just because we have put so much effort into our school districts and so much effort into working with our college population that the services, they know the services are out there. But unfortunately, we've had 2, and that's too many. So maybe next year we'll be at 0. But I think we are offering so much more to our community right now in the way of our younger population. Whereas our older population over the age of 50, many of them are dying by suicide. And we are a little bit higher compared to where we were last year at this time for our older population. But we also have to remember that just because the younger people are not taking their lives, they are dealing with mental health issues, and they are dealing with their parents possibly taking their life, their grandparents taking their life. Mental health issues it is still a stigma to talk about mental health. I talk to kids that have lost their parents to suicide or their grandparents to suicide, and they don't want anybody to know. So I encourage them to talk about it. We live with a lot of kids that are trying to streamline their education right now, and if they're homeless, it's even harder. So sometimes they're in school, sometimes they're not. So we're looking at a whole different world right now, and we want our kids to be seen. So our attempts this year, Colleen has asked me to say something about our attempts this year. Our attempts, that we do not keep records on. We leave that to the mental health professionals to do that. I know True North Wellness has their own numbers, and Jane Wilderson is on our board and she reports them. But we are over 100 a month in overdoses right now, and drug issues. But a lot of it is mixed with alcohol. We have, I have heard that, in fact, just our recent suicide, one of the reasons was that he was sober for 7 years, but he went off and started drinking recently. And that mixed with everything else, it's like the perfect storm right now for people to take their life because they feel like failures. They feel like they are a burden to others. And many of them have the ability to take their life. So that's why we're looking at these numbers, and drugs, alcohol plays a larger role in suicides than drugs, but the two combined can be lethal. Okay, you can move to the next slide. I think the next slide has to do with culture. Oh, no, oh, it's our QPR. We do provide QPR services in York County where you can be trained to know the warning signs, to how to talk to a person. It's kind of like the CPR of mental health. At this time, we are doing them at no cost because it is so important for people to be trained. And we just ask that there's a minimum of 10 people in a group, and we will go anywhere. We are now doing them virtually also. So anytime that you would like to hold a QPR session for your group, they're anywhere from an hour to 2 hours long, depending on the time frame. And we just did a really nice one at York, Penn State York. And I think it's really important that people know what it means to be seen and to be heard, and how to listen to people that, and to know the warning signs, because they will be talked about. And if you miss them, it could mean that someone will take their life, because they really don't want to take their life. They want to be heard and they want to be seen. Next slide. So some of the resources, we have a 988 number coming soon nationally. It has been approved and has gone through all the legal ramifications. They just have to bring it up, and that should come out really soon, because I don't know about you all, but the Suicide Prevention Lifeline number, I have a hard time remembering myself. So 988 is going to be an easy number for people to remember. Our school districts are also included in all this, and True North Wellness is a great organization too, and they have developed a hotline number also, so you can always call True North. And they have mobile therapy, they have therapy, teletherapy, they have, you name it, they have it. Keep yourself up to date on what's going on in the community through and throughout nationally. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has great resources. And this Saturday is International Suicide Survivor Day, people that have lost someone to suicide. We are holding a walk at York Township Park on Saturday. But American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has a lot of other resources available for that day also. So you can always go on there and see what's closest to you. I know Lancaster is providing the movie and whatever that day. So, and of course you can go on our website at any time and get the information. You can also contact me, which is also part of your resources here too. And I'd be glad to talk with you. If you are having someone that you feel is suicidal, we do provide assessments at no charge. So, and I'm certified in that area to provide assessments for all ages. So feel free to contact us if you feel like someone is suicidal and needs to, or is self-harming, has mental health issues that could lead to suicide ideation or suicide. Any quick questions?
Cindy, we have a question about QPR training. Do you have that information as to how folks can sign up and participate, or is that something we can find out and put into the chat?
You can call me and set a date. You have to organize it with me. So if you have a group of people that want to do it, and you want to just hold one for the community, just call me. We will set a date. We will take care of it for you.
Okay, thank you, Cindy. Were there any other
Uh-huh.
questions that folks had for Cindy? And again, if you think about something as we're going, please feel free to put it into the chat box, and we will do everything we can to keep that posted. So how's that? Everybody good? Okay, so our next panelist comes to you from a fantastic school district, and I am not biased at all. So Kara, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Take it away.
Okay, good morning. I'm actually coming from my school, so if you hear a bell, I apologize in advance. That's just kind of what happens when we're doing this Zoom live. Those are just some of my websites and a way to contact me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out afterwards. I would love to talk with you. Okay, next. Okay, so I work as a school social worker, and I also have a private practice where I'm a therapist in an outpatient setting. And I like to always start trainings showing this picture. We've all heard of Maslow or Bloom, and we know that we can't bloom until we Maslow, which means this pyramid kind of says that if you have to meet the basic needs on the bottom to be able to reach the needs at the top. And I would say that many of our homeless students start in those bottom ranks, and they can move up. It doesn't mean that they can't, but we have to make sure that they are able to eat breakfast, have clean clothing, have a safe place to go home, and are able to sleep. And if those needs are not met, it is harder for them to learn. And then as you move up, class routines, access to counselors, and you keep moving up. And so as school social workers, we spend a lot of time in the physiological aspect of this. Now, I think it's really important that we remember that we do not need to feel bad for these kids, because some of these kids are the most resourceful and capable kids that I have ever worked with before. So we need to remember that to empower them. And so I don't need to say to them, I'm so sorry that you're going through this. I might say, hey, this is really tough. What can we do to help you get through today? Right? Sometimes what I've found is as educators, we become so wrapped up in what's wrong with them and all of the barriers that sometimes we don't focus on their strengths. And so I'm really big on trying to help identify the strengths. Hey, it's really awesome. I know today was rough, but you came to my office, and you always come when you're having a hard day and seek out supports. Or you didn't have a lot to eat last night, but you came and you said, hey, I need a bag of food. That's a really good skill. If you're able to access your resource, that's a protective factor. And a lot of these students we're finding have these protective factors. Next. And I am not able to see my PowerPoint right now. I don't know if others are having that problem.
It looks like Allie is no longer on here. I don't know if she was booted off somehow. And
Okay,
I'm not sure about.
I just didn't know if other people are able to see my PowerPoint, or if I can't, they can't maybe. Okay, I'll just roll.
Yeah, I don't think any of us can.
Okay, so my next, sure. Okay, so I had simple PowerPoints anyway, so you're not missing out on any information. So the next slide that I had just said the word belong. And I think one of the things I have found is students who are struggling with homelessness or are doubled up or an unaccompanied youth, meaning they no longer live with their main caretaker, where do I belong? Where do I fit in? I had a girl come to me this week, and she said, you know what, Miss Wojcik? She's a sophomore in high school. And she said, my stepdad told my mom, it's either either I got to go or she's got to go. And my stepmom told me that and my mom said she chose him and I had to go. And I just remember looking at her, and this girl has her mask on and she starts tearing up. And I'm like, I can't imagine what that would feel like for your mom to choose your stepdad over you. And she can't go and stay with her grandfather because of COVID. And so this is just a typical day in the life of a student who's dealing with this. And so then we're like, we need you to get your math homework done. We need you to get your English homework done. And she was virtual before, and she has zeros, and she's failing everything. And she doesn't know where she's going to sleep tonight. And these are some of the issues. So that idea of where do I belong? If I don't belong in my family, and often I don't feel like I belong in a school, because if I'm going from school to school, I'm the new kid. Or if we're doing virtual, it's really hard to connect. And then we also have the pieces of internet issues and things like that. So this idea of where do I belong is a big part of mental health. And if you feel like you don't have anywhere to belong, that is a really scary feeling. And for mental health, that's a big struggle. My next slide just said anxiety, the what ifs. And here's the thing, anxiety can turn into depression when the anxiety becomes real, right? So what if my mom and dad get kicked out of the house? What if I lose my teddy bear? What if we don't have food? What if I can't get my homework done? What if I go home and no one's there? These are some of the things that are happening. So again, if you look back to that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first one we said was, do I have somewhere to sleep, right? Do I have clean clothes? And then the next is going to be that mental health piece. And so that anxiety is the what ifs, and then it can turn into depression if it happens. What I have found is students live in the extremes. So we have those that are perfectionists and they control what they can control. So I'm going to go all in with school. I'm going to stay after. I'm going to do all these things. And they overfunction, right? They overfunction. Sometimes they're the parents. So we might have a fifth grader taking care of a 5-year-old. Some of my homeless students are staying home from school because they have to take care of their family. Now, we have to be quick as educators to not put our shame, blame, judgment lens on. How could those parents do that? Why are they doing that? Don't they know? Because here's the thing, we can't show what we don't know. And I'm really big on this idea of childhood wounds. And we have parents who are just children themselves. So we have children raising children. As educators, we have to take off our blaming, shame, blame lens, right? It'd be really easy for me to say, oh, that's the worst father ever. Can you believe to do that? And I'm really careful even to not surround myself in faculty rooms or conversations with people that have negative thoughts on parents. At some degree, do you believe everyone is doing the best they can with what they know, right? And when we know better, we do better. And so I think that's really important. So we see those kids that are over functioning, and then we see the under functioning, almost kind of depressed. Or if I come to school, I sleep the whole time, I'm defiant, I don't want to be here, flat affect, shut down, irritable. We kind of see those extremes. And sometimes these students, in my experience, have been passed from therapist to agency to foster care worker to school counselor, that who are you? And you really think you care about me? And what are you going to do to help my life? Nothing you say, Miss Boychuk, is going to change my life. And I say, you know what? You're right. I can't change it, but I can sit here and listen, and I can be a safe person. And we know that if you build a relationship, the student builds a relationship with one adult, that's a protective factor. And going back to what Cindy was saying, one relationship can stop a suicide attempt. And so again, I don't need to say to you, hey, you're homeless. I'm like, hey, what's going on? How can I help? Stop getting so wrapped up in you're homeless, you're homeless, you're homeless. I'm telling you right now, some of my unaccompanied youth, they have way more skills to make it in this world than these other families who have these helicopter parents that do everything for them. Again, going to back what I said, can you access resources? Can you identify? Do you recognize that you're not feeling okay and that you're really anxious? And can you come and seek out? That's a really important thing. My next slide, I think, was about stressors and just some of the normal stressors that kids have, right? Where am I going to sit at lunch? Do I have a gym uniform? Am I going to make the bus? Think of like 10 stressors that an average kid has. And then I think of the stressors that a homeless child might have. Again, where are we going to sleep? What are we going to eat? Is grandma going to kick us out? Is mom going to come home drunk and we're going to have nowhere to live? So we have this baseline of stressors, and then we have this stressors. And so there's just a lot going on. And I think it's really important to look at grief and loss in these students. In my therapy practice, I do a lot of work on grief and loss. And I have clients make timelines of grief and loss, because grief and loss is not just death, right? Grief and loss is opportunity. Grief and loss is, I lost my teddy bear. I lost all my school supplies. I lost opportunities. I lost dreams. I wasn't able to play on the soccer team because we couldn't afford it. I wasn't able to play the clarinet because we couldn't afford it. So really need to look, when we talk about trauma, what are some of the grief and loss things that are happening? And again, think outside the box. It's not just death, opportunities, experiences. I'm not, everyone's going to Hershey Park and I'm not able to go, or everyone's doing this and I'm not able to go. Some of those things, because of what's going on in their life, they're not able to go. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, you can go to the next slide. And we talked about depression a little bit. Can you go to the next slide? Thank you. Coping skills and resiliency. So again, it's just empowering them. What are you going to do to get through this? Hey, Sam, you felt this before and you worked through it and you were okay. Really kind of just empowering them and doing whatever we can to break down the barriers. So having the students be a part of some kind of student council thing, or, now that we are Zoom, it's sometimes easier because we're able to, some people are virtual or hybrid. It's easier to incorporate some of these activities that maybe some students couldn't attend because of transportation. So giving them coping skills, helping them learn about mindfulness, saying to them, listen, I can't change your reality, but I can change your thoughts about your reality, right? And I want you to know that I'm a safe place. And whenever you're struggling, you can just come here and sit here. You don't even have to talk, and I got you, okay? And also being aware it's their story to tell. So we don't need to send out an email that's saying that Kara is homeless and blah, 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 blah. I would say, hey, Kara, what do you want others to know about your story? It's really important that you empower them to tell their story. It is not about us telling their story. They need to be able to tell their story. And I'd say, it's okay to tell your teachers what's going on. That's not a bad thing, right? It's okay. And if you don't want to, you don't have to, but it's okay to tell your teachers that. Okay, you can go to the next. And Sonia's going to kind of pick up at the end, but these are just some things in the mental health system as school-based therapy. We have True North, which Cindy talked about, MTSS, SAP. These are just things of bringing everyone kind of together and talking. In my school, we have anxiety groups, Avidum. I am the the faculty leader for Avidum, and Avidum is an awesome organization that was started because of a death by suicide. And that's actually been a really good thing. It's kind of, I say it's kind of the mental health of student councils. And that's just that we just plan activities where we want everyone to feel appreciated, accepted, acknowledged, and cared for. And that's kind of a thing that we all want to feel. So there's different ways to get these students involved. And it's just really important that they feel connected. Because again, going back to the first slide, do I belong here? Am I connected? And we know that's a really important thing. All right, Sonia, what else can you say about resources and things like that?
Well, Kara, I think you actually covered quite a bit of it, and in such a great manner to share this. I think that folks need to know and really have heard what Kara was saying, that we are talking about our students who are experiencing homelessness, but that is just a small part of who they, what they're experiencing. Who they are is who we need to talk to and with and have them hear us. We don't have to have that identifier there. We just want to take that moment and see what is, how we can help that moment or further. So I totally encourage everyone to reach out to school districts if you need help. If you need further information about some other resources, social worker groups, etc., please contact me. I can certainly set you up with that. Our education liaisons in our school districts are really great about knowing who in their districts are who are people that you can talk to. And I say call the districts or myself because the districts are going to be able to do direct services to these students in terms of doing a physical check-in while they're in school or even when they're virtual. And even with virtual check-ins, I have found that to be very empowering for folks. I do outreaches to unaccompanied teenagers, and during this time of COVID, they have been less housed than previously. They used to be able to couch surf, but because of COVID, a lot of folks are not opening their couches to these students. So they have been in the places such as campgrounds, abandoned buildings, cars, etc. So while I have done outreaches to these teenagers, and I've done it for years, I have found actually that technology has brought them together because they know technology, I do not. And so we have students who are in York County who are connecting with students who are in Perry County, and they're getting together to talk about their experiences. And I think that peer part is so important. They don't need to feel like they're being singled out as the homeless child, the poster child for the homeless child. They are just going through these experiences and are able to share it with their peers. And I just happen to be someone who gets to have some fun with them. We do virtual game nights. We do some reading. And anytime I hear that they have something going on that I can help with, I do that. I bring pizza and food to them, because that takes care of that need that Kara mentioned at the very beginning. They need food to help them, and hot food has been really important, because it's not just a sandwich you're getting every day. It's something that's hot and been prepared. So I think it's really important to look at any of our resources and websites that have been on here, and focus on this event for the next couple of days too, to find more resources and everything that we're doing. And Kara has her websites that were at the beginning, and her contact information is there. And Kara, if you could also please type that into the chat, I'd really appreciate that. And let's go to, are there any questions that I may have missed as I have been chatting? So question is, how and where do we encourage parents or guardians to set up these type of mental health support? Kara, do you have
I would say
answer
every
to that?
school in York County has a school social worker. And if you need that, Sonia can send out that list and you would have direct contact. And I would say just start with the school social worker, and they will connect any kind of the resources. Chances are they probably know the student. If not, they should know the student. So they could definitely help navigate that for you. But great question.
Yes. Thank you, Kara. Anybody else have any great questions? Please put them into the chat. If we don't get to your question, we'll certainly try to do our best to take care of it and do an email blast if you have to leave early or etc. So again, Kara's put up her information and website. Cindy has put up her contact information as someone who had asked that earlier. So all right, Kara, thank you so much. Thank you so much for rolling with us and riding this wave. So let's go on to our next speaker. Dr. Fitch, you're up.
First of all, thank you so much. I don't know if I could piggyback and get some of Kara's energy because she really brought it. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what we need to do. She hit the nail right on the head, dealing with homeless youth. But if you go to the next slide, I would just like to introduce myself. First of all, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. George Fitch, and I'm currently the supervisor of student services for the school district of the city of York. One of the key things that I've been involved in just with student services is really looking at how COVID is interacting, as I am the pandemic coordinator for the entire district. So as you can see, with homelessness and the other traumas and stressors that you're dealing with in school districts that have a high need of poverty, such as ours, you can really notice that the trauma that is being underlined with students that are living in poverty. Next slide, please. Today, I'm going to talk about how SAP supports students. So I've been in education for over 30 years in various roles, from teachers to program director, assistant principal, principal in charter and traditional public school. And one of the key things was my last role as a principal in the Cornerstone Tier 3 intervention program in the school district, where we dealt with a lot of the students that were experiencing trauma. So today, we're going to discuss some things, and we have some objectives. Next slide, please. So we're going to really just define how a SAP program is beneficial to the health and well-being of students in the school system, but especially those students that are experiencing high levels of trauma, and especially those that are homeless. And also designing an effective SAP program in a school system. And then realizing that SAP is only the beginning of the process, and I'll answer any questions or concerns. So when you define SAP, you have to look at the real meaning of what it needs to do. As Kara stated, it's just one of many programs, but it's a way of bringing everyone together. And you're really looking at to enhance the program of all students that attend the district, but those students that might be experiencing specific levels of trauma or stressors on their lives. These students are what people would say at risk, but I'll tell you right now, living in COVID, you're always at risk. If you got up this morning and you expected to go to your car and you go to turn on your car and then all of a sudden it doesn't work, and then you get it jumped, but then you realize that now you have a flat tire, you're at risk with the pressures that are built upon you. And then when you look at all the other trauma and environmental factors that are causing social and emotional harm to students and families, this is why the SAP program is needs to be very keen and supportive, right? Because the SAP program will provide supports to the students to navigate through a time period. Now that time period could be a couple weeks, could be months, and sometimes it could be years. So you just don't look at this and say, well, almost like this student is just in this predicament, like, all right, he is homeless and now he has a problem with him. That's why you experience things. And through this period, this is what you do. Now I'm going to give you the view of the lens of a practitioner going through the SAP process. Okay, when you pair it, we've talked about a lot of trauma, and many of you have heard of ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. But now also there's a pairing, adverse community environments. Okay, when you look at those two, those are where many of our students are residing. Not only have they had childhood experiences, but the environments that they're living in have been very adverse and could be even considered destructive. When you look at just the depression, the emotional abuse, we're talking about homelessness now, but you have people that have been incarcerated in your family, mental health illness. But then you also have, especially in the city of York, you have acute poverty, where you are living 75% or more below the poverty line. This is where you have a number of our students, especially in the school district of the city of York, that are in that area, in experiencing high number of poverty, plus lack of opportunity, economic mobility, and social capital. When you add that along with the poor housing and quality of living that many of our students experience, the one safe place that they really rely on is coming to school. And now through COVID, you have now people who have to go and stay in an unsafe environment, such as their home, or they don't have the supervision needed. You can see that this really can affect our students, and this is what's happening currently. So when we look at designing an effective SAP team, an effective SAP team has to have the minimum of these people. You must have a teacher there, a guidance counselor, a nurse, a principal or assistant principal, a representative from a community agency. I know we have Franz who really helps us out with CYS. And many times a social worker. I wish we had lots of carers out there because you need social workers that are not afraid to tackle the tough situations, but also a family member if possible. Sometimes you want the family member there. Sometimes the family member can be the cause of what is happening. So you have to determine when that family member is there because you don't want to add more stress to a situation. But as the school, it's our duty to make sure that we put this team together because the student might be failing academically and behaviorally. So we have to find out what we need to do to really design and put this team together. And it really gets down to the nitty gritty of looking at every kid. Now, monitored and scheduled meetings. The saying goes, what gets monitored gets done. So the first convening SAT meeting is the first step, but there must be continued meetings and monitor of the student with continuous feedback happening weekly at least. This is where the designing of the behavior intervention plans or BIPs, along with weekly or behavior plans are established, monitored, and modified on a weekly basis. Many times this gets overlooked and not monitored. And this is where it comes in because you've heard it with Cindy and Kara, that all you need is one caring adult to change the trajectory of a student. So you have to make sure that you are there to really care about the students, but more importantly, continuously supporting and getting it done. If you are just there for a fleeting moment, that is what happens to them in their lives. So they don't trust you. So you have to be able to have at least that one-on-one time with the child to be able to get the skills to become successful. You must have that time with a child or a small group so that they're able to have that check-in or check-out with those personnel. Now, I know in the school district of the city of York, we've had many people coming in and coming out. We've had behavior therapists, behavior specialists, and we had some great ones, and I'm gonna pick on one right now, Will Squire, who was able to really reach to connect with students. And that is the depths that people need to really understand. Are you willing to go above and beyond? Because if you just think you're going to have this job from this time to that time, sometimes that doesn't work. You have to have connected individuals to do that. And this is where we have been partnering with our community members to see that, okay, we need some support in the homes. We need ECYEL. We need those other sources, because this child might need 24-hour care, and you need those dedicated people there. So I'm going to tell you the important part of monitoring and scheduling meetings, that is critical, because that child, you might be that only person that child comes in. So we just want to continue on with that. Next slide, please. In conclusion, an effective SAP is a critical piece that many districts are lacking, but now trying to see the importance of how to help this growing population of youth. Because if you don't have a school assistance program, if you just have other things in place, you need an overarching umbrella to really make sure that there is a committed group of people looking at the behavioral and academic needs of students. You need to get the right people at the table and willing to do the heavy lifting and work that is needed. You can't be in for 1 minute and then out the next. It needs that consistency. Please remember that if you're not willing to do the work or commit to helping the students, you can do more harm than good. Because at this point, they're used to people coming in and out of their lives. They're like, yeah, you're just another person that's here and then you'll leave me. And many times it's critical that relationships are the most critical part in building a bond with students as well as families. That many times they will not trust you, but it takes time to establish and build that trust. And it only takes one slight or fleeting moment to erode that trust.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fitch. Are there any questions specifically for Dr. Fitch? He has his information up on here. Let me look in the chat. I would like to sincerely thank our panelists for joining us today. Mental health is such an important topic for us to talk about, and especially during this week while we are trying to raise awareness for our students who are experiencing homelessness. A lot of folks are going through some trauma and mental health during this time of COVID, and it's always good to learn a little bit more and understand a little bit more of our students who are experiencing homelessness and what ways they may be what ways we can help them without saying, hey, you're our homeless student. I would like to, again, just direct everyone to the additional resources that are available on Wednesday's page of this coalition. And Kelly, you're making my squirrely eyes go. And there's downloadable content. All of these sessions have been recorded. All of these sessions have been recorded. Also on the website is our why and a whole tab of resources. So if you're looking for ways to get involved, this Friday is going to be the easiest way you can get involved. I am so excited that we are going to have, again, red shirt and red mask day. It's the time of COVID, so we're going to make sure that we get that out there. Red shirt and red mask day is a great visual for our students who are experiencing homelessness. Again, I spoke earlier about how I work with students who are unaccompanied teenagers. And every year when I show all these pictures that have red, where people wearing red shirts, where people are using that hashtag, I will be your voice, they are so filled with gratitude that there are people who actually do care and want to help them and want to allow their voices to be heard. So please join us on Red Shirt, Red Mask Day on Friday, and post all of your pictures on your social media, tag the coalition, tag the ECYA page, whatever you can do. Also, there is a virtual sleep out this year. We can't do it as our normal, typical way of, traditional way of doing it. So you can join us and on Friday and go at your typical bedtime. You can share photos and videos again on social media. You can sleep anywhere that you wouldn't sleep that's traditional. So if you don't, so if you're going to stay in your home, which is totally fine, you can sleep on the floor with a blow-up mattress. You can sleep on a chair. You can sleep, you know, anywhere that is not traditional for you or traditional for any person in your household. And again, we're doing that to bring awareness about homelessness. It's really important that these kids and families see what we're looking for, and not looking for, excuse me, that we are helping them know that we are helping to spread awareness. And by sleeping out, it's just adding a great way to do things. So we, as a York County Coalition, get together, and you are welcome to join on Thursday, December 17th at 1 p.m. And the meetings are usually every fourth Thursday of each month. And we'll keep that updated. So please feel free to reach out to Allie if you are interested in joining us for the York County Coalition on Homelessness. We can't do this alone, and each one of us adds a ripple. And with all of our ripples, we're going to make waves. And with these waves of success, we're going to have a tsunami of information and resources and love for every one of the students and families experiencing homelessness. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Don't forget to look at the resources. If you have questions, contact us, and have a fantastic day. Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, the evaluation form. You also have a certificate of participation. Please fill out the evaluation form. This is the first year that this has been put together. And if I can brag about the coalition, they have done a fantastic job of getting technology up and running, getting getting presenters together, and just really providing such a great resource this week. So please fill out your evaluation to help us make a better and better resource for our community. And feel free to print out our certificate of participation. All right, have a great day, everybody, and hopefully we'll see you Friday on social media wearing red.